And we're live.
We are. Welcome, everyone, to the HVAC 2.0 show. I'm Nate Adams, CEO of HVAC 2.0, joined by several of the guild here. So we have old TK to serve as our drill sergeant as needed. We have Ken in Athens, Ohio, Jeff in Indianapolis, and Tanner down in northern Alabama. And tonight we are going to be talking about the free quote process that I've been hinting about forever. So I'm going to actually show you what is in the software as it stands today, because it needs like one last small iteration, which if we're really lucky this Saturday, we'll finally have all the main pieces out. And ironically, we will have version 1.0 of 2.0. Which still kind of makes me chuckle. But I think you'll find that this is a new way to quote. This is meant to be newbie friendly. It's a very consistent process that can be applied. You're going to be able to responsibly avoid responsibility. If you need to apply the building science stuff, you can do that. A lot of this is just going to be used to sell nice equipment. So there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that are really quite different from anywhere else. And most importantly, there's no coercion through all of this. This is choose your own adventure again and again and again. You are playing the guide. You are not the hero to your clients. Don't be the hero. So, and just a review from last week, we talked about the wonderful Polish saying of not my circus, not my monkeys. And there's a third part, which is not my problem. But I just like not my circus, not my monkeys. This is the fundamental mindset shift that we need to make to use this process. If you take your client problems on as your own, you are becoming the hero and you're likely to get bit. So don't overpromise and underdeliver. Not a great way to go. And more of the Sandler way of looking at it is not my money, not my problem. If you're at the client house, is that your house? No. Is it your money you're spending? No, it's not your money and it's not your problem. You're there to help guide them to whatever the best solution is for them, their home, and their budget. That's what you're trying to do. Again, no coercion at all. And to do this, I've been saying this for years, so hopefully this rings a bell to people. This is all about educating and offering options. And you just do this again and again and again. And the tricky part, and this GIF didn't transfer, unfortunately. I like this, seeing Wesley say, "As you wish," to Princess Buttercup from Princess Bride. So if you haven't seen this movie, what the heck's wrong with you? Go watch it. It's funny. It's a total classic. But whatever your clients choose, if you feel that you did a good job of presenting them with education, should be your reaction, as you wish. Don't fight them. This is their call. It's their problem. It's their money. They can do what they want. And the best way to do all of this is questions. So we start with the 4 questions, the comfort quiz, and then each of the scripts for both free quote and the comfort consult are pretty in depth. And then you are asking enough questions that if they tell you that something's not a problem after you ask them a question, and you document it, and they say it's a problem later, well, you didn't tell me. I'm not psychic. You just responsibly avoided responsibility, which is very important in doing this. And we're actually going to dive into a piece of the detailed process. So this is pretty intense. This is the entire 2.0 process. The CPAth down here, this is the one that's going to be used maybe 1% or 0.1% of the time. So when people come in, they find you through marketing or from a service technician, whatever that looks like. They go through the intake and they go through the comfort quiz. Then they get the results of the comfort quiz sent to them, and they can decide, are they going to do a free quote or a comfort consult? So that's what we're going to be running through. So we're going to take a much deeper look at this for what it looks like in the software right now and how that might affect your business and make your life easier and hopefully sell you a bunch more. I'm actually going to skip this slide. We've talked about it. That's the less detailed version. So we have talked in many of the episodes in the past about the 6 functions of HVAC. This is fundamentally how we, at least, sell better equipment very consistently. Because there's 6 different things that every HVAC system should be able to do. Every car that has air conditioning, which is basically every car since like 1992, can do 5 of these 6 functions. Most houses can't do any. And so they are load matching, dehumidification, mixing, filtration, fresh air, and humidification. And what's nice here is with these smiley faces, which this is what you show them at the end of the quote. The basic system doesn't look so good. So
yeah, you don't even have to show them SEER or efficiency
Nope.
or things that don't matter to them. Show them this instead.
Yeah, no one cares.
This won't confuse them.
Yeah. And like we've shot at the IRA heat pump program because it leads to systems with bad dehumidification, and then you don't get fresh air with those generally either. And so this will help lean people away from that sort of thing. And then you can put whatever systems you want in, and you can change all of these names. Like all of this is editable. But we're going to work up to how you show this sort of thing. And in 2 weeks, I'll walk you through all the videos that we have done for these. So it's not that they couldn't use another update, but the content is there for very quick education in 10 minutes or less for clients. So if they're about to spend $10, $20, $30,000, isn't it worth 10 minutes of your time to get some basic education so that you can make a better decision? So we'll show what those videos are here soon.
And also to kind of add on to that, the videos being the educational material, this is kind of to take what they've learned and then put it into terms where it's bite-sized chunks where they can understand what the differences are, because everybody that's done this, they've been in the situation where someone's needing a new unit and they're asking questions about, okay, well, what can I get? And then you start trying to explain the different options that you have, and then you see them go, oh, none of this makes any sense, and you realize that, oh, I'm wasting my time. Well, the whole concept of these smiley faces and such really was just how do you take the things that are actually important, the things that they need to understand, and then use that to then differentiate the different options. So then when you're showing them options, they go, oh, I understand now why this basic unit costs $10,000 and this high-end unit costs $30,000.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a value building exercise. I mean, if you're selling on SEER, what's the difference? This one's 15, this one's 17. It'll save you $25 a year. You're not going to sell the higher SEER stuff, or not at a significant rate. But I mean, everyone here sells 80 to 90%, high end. Communicating, whether that be 5-stage or fully modulating. I have sold 1 2-stage ever. And that was for a Habitat for Humanity project where we just flat out didn't have the budget. So this flips how your sales work. And so if you can double your tickets with this, that's pretty cool.
Well, one of the things that we thought originally when we did the free quote is that, it'd just be an easier way of doing the typical free quote that people are used to doing. And it hasn't been out for very long that these guys have been testing it, but feedback from Reedy and Ronnie is that they're making much, much bigger sales, and it's really easy to sell the better equipment using the free quote process. So that's been interesting. It's just anecdotal right now. We really want to get a year in and make sure that that's sort of what everybody experiences. But in the short term, Reedy sold a $32,000 job off a free quote 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or rather, way I would say that it's not that they're selling better equipment; it's that people are buying better equipment.
Correct.
Yeah, educated.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is a pull process, not a push. No one should ever feel like they were pushed into something here. So you can have this, or this. Here's your prices and your ramifications. What works best for you? And it's amazing. Tanner, it's funny. You mentioned it last week you see all this stuff. So how do you differentiate yourself? And come on, most people are not differentiated. It's our trucks are pink and our trucks are blue. Like it's like these really small little things. This differentiates you, and it also differentiates the equipment in a way that your clients can understand, which is what we're trying to do. And most importantly, because we started at the far end with doing the really difficult home performance projects, this doesn't close any doors as you get there. And that was really hard to figure out. This was so hard to figure out. It really was surprising how long it took. But here we are. It's running, even if it's got some squeaky wheels for another week or two. But here are the different pieces. So there's the intake. This is the 4 questions, or the comfort quiz. And we'll take a look at that shortly. And I'm going to show you everything live here in the software. There's education through email. This for now is just copy and paste stuff, but we have an email tool built where if you click a button on a given email template, it will shoot the client name, their email, and the subject line and the email itself body into whatever email system you use. And so it's semi-automated. It's not perfect, but you click one button, it goes in there. You can make some slight edits if you need to, and then ship it off. And that way you are doing your education so that by the time you get to the house, they have been presented with the duct pressure and 6 function videos at least twice, maybe 3 times. And that way, if they're like, well, you didn't tell me about this, like, well, here's 2 emails, and here's your signature. While I was there, and I showed it to you while you were there and asked if you wanted to, like, there's a limit to what I can do for you here, So this is responsibly avoiding responsibility, is sending this education. And because the 6 functions is in there, and it just leaves them with a question mark of what does it look like? It does the comparison between a car's HVAC and a home's HVAC, but it doesn't tell them what those solutions look like. And then at the end of the quote, you show them what the solutions look like based on different pieces of equipment and different ways of installing. There's a very newbie-friendly script, which you'll see. You collect all the data that you need for the install manager, which is pretty nice. And there's a report for that as well. Likely load range. All of us are super excited about this, I think. Load calcs are no joke, plus or minus 2 tons easily in most climates, particularly for heating. If plus or minus a ton easy, plus or minus 2 in plenty of climates, plus or minus 3 or 4 in some. Like that, the whole up to plus or minus 70% brouhaha that I started, I don't know, like 3 years ago or whatever it was. And now everybody's like, yeah, well, if you don't have a blower door, you don't know what the load calc is. That was the point. Just with blower door alone, you can skew a load as much as 70% either way in a cold climate. And so if you aren't collecting the information that you need to do a good load, which is going to be blower door, thermostat set points, the energy use, their patterns, their usage patterns, the R values of the house. If you don't know these things, you can't do an accurate load. You're going to be plus or minus a ton, plus or minus 2. So likely load range shows them here's the bottom ends that's likely and the top end that's likely. And it's based on climate zone. You put your zip code in, which is in because we pull that from the client record, how many square feet the house is, whether it's 1 story or 2, and what the main foundation type is, and boom, it will spit this out. That's not 1.0, that's 1.1, but we're within a couple of months of having that out. It's a pretty easy formula that we use to do it. And then all of us here ran a couple of houses through it, and it passed all of our sniff tests for, I've seen houses that low and I've seen houses that high in my climate. So
easy. Let me stop you there. Easy formula for those that have done it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because it took some bantering, right? To really get that down.
Yeah, that's true.
Feeling comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. So in the formula that we used, it's area times U value times delta. And for the high end, it was pretty easy. For the low end, we had to play with the formulas before all of us got comfortable with what it was. But seriously, to get that, you've already got the zip code. You need to put in the square footage, 1 or 2 story, and the main foundation type, and boom, you're going to get a top and bottom of the load. And like, so Mrs. Jones, we don't have the information we need to do an accurate load. What size would you like? Or would you like to just go with what you have now? And it gets you off that hook, and then it plants legitimate seeds of doubt on what the right piece of equipment is, because they should have that.
Yeah, I'm not picking your size for you. You're
Heck
picking
no.
your size. And part of the reason that we came up with this is because in some jurisdictions, people are required to do a load calc. And so this way, instead, they can provide a load range.
Yes.
And that way, and that because the load calcs we were finding were so incredibly inaccurate. And in fact, Reedy has a story where his company was taken to court by somebody who complained that the load calc was wrong, and there were 2 other people,
And all 3 of them had different loads,
Yeah.
right?
It was like a 2, 3, and a 4, or 2.5,
there was a
3, and a
2-ton,
3.5.
a 3-ton, and a 5-ton, and theirs was the 3-ton. And the judge looked at all these different loads and said, well, clearly, if you can't all come up with the same number, then there is no right answer here. And that story actually drove part of the thinking around load range.
Yep.
Because that's really what you're getting is you're shooting it at the side of a barn with a sawed-off shotgun if you don't have infiltration.
Yep. Yeah, it's like going to the store and asking somebody what size shirt do you think you'd fit in, and they're like, well, somewhere between an extra small and a triple X. Like that's kind of where it is. I mean, if it's a newer home, yeah, it's probably on the lower side. And if it's an older home, it's probably on the higher side, but not always.
Not always.
All of
Not
us have tested
always.
homes where we're just like, is this thing on?
Corbett
Is that too high or
Lunsford
too low?
says he's often surprised, always guesses before he pulls his blower door number, and he's often surprised.
Yep. Yeah, and Ted, you ran hundreds of blower door tests, and you got surprised, and I ran a whole bunch of blower door tests, and I got surprised. Jeff, I see you nodding along. You know what happens when you assume? Yeah, don't assume leakage.
That's
So-
why it's fun to guess, because there's no skin
is.
off your back if you guess wrong when you're measuring.
Yeah. Yeah, it's honestly kind of fun. And if you get to energy use, Ted got to where he did, what did you do, like 500 or 800 blower door tests by the time
I
you were done
don't
with all that?
remember. Lots.
But it was a ton, and he got to where he could guess the blower door within 500 CFM 50 just from energy use.
Well, and square
And there were
footage.
exceptions.
Energy
right?
use is square footage, and then like somebody with baseboard heating was zoning. You know, one of the things I learned is leakage on forced air is non-linear, whereas leakage on radiant is
Much
like-
more linear.
much more linear and much less impact. And that makes a ton of sense if you think about it.
Yeah, you're pressurizing and depressurizing rooms, which is naturally going to affect the infiltration of the house.
Exacerbating leakage.
Yep. So likely load range, we are all very excited to have that in here. And all the formulas are there. It just needs to get built in. And I'll show you at least vaguely what it looks like, because it's going to be pretty close to what's in the report now. But now you have to enter in the values that you want. And within a couple of months, it will be automatic. But you only get it if you get the report, which, yeah, you got to pay for. Sorry. We got to make money somehow.
Eventually,
Then-
hopefully.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Equipment and install options. We'll walk through those. That's the smiley faces. Client report, what they get to see. Your install manager will get a report. Between this report and some decent photos, hopefully the install manager doesn't have to go out to measure. That was our goal here. The goal of this whole thing actually is that it is so good that you feel stupid not using it. I think the elements are here. It's still going to need some tweaking before it actually passes that bar, but I can at least see it getting there, and I think everyone here would agree.
Yeah, folks that are going to be experimenting with this early, it's you need to be an early adopter because there are going to be bugs.
Yeah, yeah. If you want perfect, don't sign on now. Wait a couple of months.
If you want perfect, you probably gonna. Well, it'll never be perfect, but if you want good enough for prime time, you're gonna want to wait a couple of months.
Yep. But it's coming in like 1.1 and 1.2 should really get there. And then another thing that I'm really looking forward to is ticket and closing ratio tracking. Is when Ted and I were working together doing these advanced projects, we actually watched my closing ratios and they would go up and down. And when they were going down, we'd try and figure out what I was doing different and fix that. And because there's all of this data collection and a very ordered process, you're probably going to find that people where their numbers start sliding are skipping answers, or maybe they're pencil whipping. It'd be kind of dumb to pencil questions, but you could. But the odds are
Or
you're
they're
going
just
to
they're making a mistake. After a while, you make mistakes.
Yeah. So this is going to let you coach either yourself or your employees when numbers aren't looking as good as they should. And this is what we're going to be running through. So primarily the preparation email we're not going to look at tonight, but we're going to look at the actual quote, a bit of what the bid looks like. And then it's funny, there's A jobs, B jobs, and C jobs. This is A job and then follow up. So we're going to take a look through most of this here. So
What are B jobs?
I don't know, buddy. Did you take sex ed?
Reel that back in. That's for
Okay.
the after show.
That, by the way, is actually a job that's sold through a comfort consult. That's the answer for tonight. For right now.
Dang it.
Once we all sign off in a little while, yeah, we can go a different direction.
A jobs are free quotes.
Correct. A job's free quote. B job is comfort consult. C job is out of a comprehensive planning process, and those are the killer ones. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Looks like good. Okay. So this is the client page as it stands. Now, keep in mind, we were going for function, not beauty for the first round here. We can always skin this and make it look pretty, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't freaking matter. So step one was make it work. I'm just going to click on free quote questionnaire because I can look at the questions in there. So you can tell that this is a made up name, Super Testy McTestface. And so this is the questionnaire. And I'm going to click show hints. This is for your newbies. We set this up so that you can send somebody out to go run quotes that's only been in the industry for a week or two, that they should probably do a couple of ride-alongs. Like you probably could send them out straight, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Jeff's been doing practices to show people in the office, and we've forgotten how important it is to do those.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, it's not just practice for the guy doing the work. It's also so that the other people start to understand what kind of work they're going to be doing.
Yes. Yeah. If your CSRs have been through one of these free quotes and through a comfort consult, they're not going to speak in theory about what's going to happen. They're going to have stories and experiences to share,
and they'll probably be somewhat more genuinely enthusiastic.
Yes. Yeah. It's not my boss told me to sell this, or I get a spiff if I sell one of these. And by the way,
this is a fascinating way to find out about your house.
Yeah. This is Bill Nye the Science Guy showing up at your house. I mean, the comfort consults are pretty darn cool. But
and it builds that those case studies for you, the company, the belief system, that mindset
good
shift,
reviews.
mindset change.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, even with the internal employees to start.
If you don't show people what you're actually doing, nobody really knows. I mean, how many of us know this within our families? My daughter has no freaking clue what I do. She just doesn't. I don't think she cares either, but she has no idea. So if you don't show people internally what's going on, it's going to be hard. And it's a good way to practice as well. But back to the script here. So I'm clicking show hints, which you can see this gray thing. I can toggle it on and off. So once you get used to doing this, this gets like half the length when you click this off. But it starts with just some basic instructions. Park a little ways away and review the notes. So like, don't go in and like reading your notes and bumbling, go in prepared, get your mind right. And just quick little script going in. Jeff put in here, ask for permission and let them feel in control, and try to get 6 yeses before asking them any questions. Is where I parked okay? Is it okay if I put covers on my shoes? Stuff like that. Try and grab control. Is there someplace comfortable we can sit down? Some people aren't going to want to. Ask to go to the thermostat and then ask them to go sit down. But get control or you're going to be in trouble. Did you read the what to expect email? And so then you get a yes, no out of that. And this will let you know if they say no, they did not watch the videos. And you'll understand in 2 weeks, we'll show that these videos are important. How long did you set aside for this quote? Because we all know that some people jam us. And even though they were told in the email that these take 45 to 90 minutes, well, I only got 20 minutes. Well, then you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do and not do, or reschedule, whatever you want to do. And then you go over their answers for the comfort quiz, which there's this nice little tool down here. Boom. Here are the answers to their quiz. And so you can run over these briefly and see if anything changed. And if it does, you can have them do something else. So note how when I have it down here, I purposely have this gamed so it'll do this. But at a score of 12, that's still a free quote territory. 13 to 19 is either a free quote or a comfort consult. And if you get all the way up to over 20, a comfort consult is recommended. And so you may run through these and find, oh crap, yeah, this actually isn't a free quote. We should do a comfort consult. You don't want to do that right then because you probably don't have the time, and you need to take your sales hat off because you have your sales hat on a free quote, where at a comfort consult, you do not have your sales hat on. So you kind of have to leave and come back. It's like switching.
Comfort consult, you're getting paid, remember? So,
yep.
So you're not there. Primarily, your goal isn't to sell. Your goal is to find out stuff.
Precisely. So you can adjust the comfort quiz if need be, and that may kick you. This video is out of place, but it does play right in here. This is one of the bugs that we still have to work out. That's in the wrong order. I love this question. Are there any other concerns you're hoping this new system might address? Because you never know what's going to come out there. Again, asking questions is the answer. There's a couple of notes about what to do if it does convert. And we put this in here as optional. Are there any rebates, incentives that you were hoping to take advantage of? If you suspect that they are trying to chase the IRA, or you know that there's some utility rebates or whatever, if you have any interest in even pursuing those, ask this question. And it's a good idea to ask it anyway, because if you do and they say no, and then later they're like, well, you didn't tell me about this. Well, I asked you and you said no. You've at least got that to back up. Again, responsibly avoiding responsibility. It's pretty consistently we find that these change your project design enough that typically they put good results at risk, which is annoying.
Yeah, and we talked about that in previous videos. Equipment that doesn't dehumidify is going to leave your clients pretty unhappy.
Yep. Or, I mean, you may step up from a furnace where the heat exchanger isn't known for clogging to one where it is. Pushing into these 98% furnaces is not always the best idea. So depending on your brand. And then you're just going to be asking permission through all of this. Do you mind if I ask you a few other questions? These are fundamentally about responsibly avoiding responsibility. But the first couple here, these are pretty easy. How long have you lived here? How long do you plan to stay? If they're planning to be carried out heels first, they're probably going to do a much nicer project. If the guy just moved in for a corporate job and he tends to move every 3 years, it's probably going to be a single stage sale. But at least you'll have some idea. But don't assume it. You're still going to offer everything, but it might be. What year is the house built? This is more for data entry than anything. But the how many square feet? Here's your likely load range questions right here. How many square feet is it? Is it 1 story or 2? And this is hyper simplified, so only ranches are 1 story. 2 stories are for colonials, split or tri-level, however you call them, bungalows, Cape Cods, and 2-story homes with walk-up attics. So basically, if it's not a ranch, it's a 2. And then what's the primary foundation type, meaning 50% or more, because some homes are going to be a combo of basement and crawl space. Like particularly in Cleveland, the additions get crawls and the house has a basement. So whatever it is, you select that, and that adjusts the load a little bit. But this is it to run a load calc. Pulls a zip code for the climate zone and the deltas, temperature deltas, how many square feet, 1 story or 2, and primary foundation type, and you have a basic load calc. It's a range, not a calculation. Some people have just moved in, so this is an important piece too. If they have just moved in, been there for a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months, until you've experienced both a heating season and a cooling season in a home, we really don't recommend making changes because people tend to downplay what's going to bother them and then choose the wrong system. It's better to wait if the system has life. So you ask them some questions, or if they want to move now, hey, have you had any issues with previous homes? Stuff like that. Do either of you work from home? Because this is going to be driving a lot of comfort stuff now. And then we get into a bunch of responsibly avoiding responsibility questions. These are all pulled from the Comfort Consult questions, but this is way fewer than there are over there. So do you have any noise issues? Where do you keep the temperature at? Does anybody have allergies? Does anybody have dry skin, pest issues? Have you noticed mold or mildew? So these are hyper shortened, but if you sniff much here, this may shift it towards a Comfort Consult. Although like we talked about last week and how to price it, you price the Comfort Consult high if you don't want to do them. Then this is kind of a fun thing. Do you know what size equipment you have? And actually, if they say yes, the odds are pretty good they've gotten quotes before. And we're going to add another question. Jeff, what was the question about? I think it was later in the pricing, right? Like, do you have any idea what this might cost?
Yeah, I mean, all these questions, again, are just trying to get a little bit more information, how to help guide them and kind of figure out where they're at as a buyer.
Yep.
So this question, another question coming up here in a bit, just all lead to that.
And well, the one that I was thinking of in particular, if they have an idea what the stuff is going to cost already, it means they've had other bids. So that lets you know you're not the first one through the door, which is usually good, frankly. Then you start putting the weight on them.
Sorry. It's that and like the sizing. If they know the sizing and they can pretty quickly answer that question, it's more than likely, again, yes, that they've gotten other bids or they've talked to somebody.
Yep, exactly. So they're moving along. And then you start putting some weight on them that you're going to show them later in likely load range, where you plan to keep the same size equipment or go up and down a size, up or down a size. And this is where you can let them know, hey, without some additional information, we don't know what size it should be either. So either of our opinions are frankly just as valid here. And Jeff, I love your question here. Imagine you had a magic wand and could change anything in your home. What would that look or feel like? I love that. And then this is Johnny. If we change the equipment and everything stays the same, are you okay with that? And then you ask them again, did any of your comfort quiz scores change from what we discussed? So those are the questions. Those shouldn't take particularly long, but you just responsibly avoided responsibility like a badass. If they say no to all these things and they bring it up later, like, ma'am, I documented what you told me and you said it wasn't a problem. It is what it is.
Actually, Nate, that might be somewhere along the line, probably at the beginning. We want to let them know we're gathering information for both of us. I'll be giving you a copy of this so that you'll have a record of what we talked about. We don't want people thinking, oh, they're just trying to learn more about me so they can push my buttons and get the most money.
That's a really good improvement that we should put in here, Ken. Yeah, because this is not meant to be coercive. It's just we want to ask all these questions. I mean, if you go to the doctor and he doesn't ask you enough questions and there's multiple things wrong with you, it's kind of his fault if he misdiagnoses you.
Yes.
So we don't want that to be our fault for misdiagnosis because we didn't ask some questions. So we wanted to pull some of them over from the comfort consult, but there's 3 or 4 times as many over there. And this is a free quote. We're not getting paid. We still want to move on, but we also want to check the boxes. Now, another order thing that's not correct here is duct pressure. There's going to be a blurb about it, and then or a couple of questions about it, and then the 70-second video, which is actually 90 seconds, that Ted likes to talk about, and you have them sign off whether they accept or deny that. And this is where we recommend offer duct pressure, which is external static pressure testing, for something pretty cheap, like 25 or 50 bucks, so that if they say no and they sign off on it and the system dies later, it's like, look, you were the dumb one who didn't want to spend 25 bucks. Like, come on. Because this will likely lead you into a sizing thing if they have a high static, which might lead you to a comfort consult or just more conversation. But the odds of getting a job because you're doing this are much higher. And then some of these other things need to move around here, but this is the 6 functions video. Again, these are out of order, just showing you raw as it is at the moment. Here's we offer duct pressure testing for blank during free quotes. And you might tell them, like, if they want it later, it's going to be $200 or $250 because it's a service call, whatever your service call price is.
I think most sales guys probably won't be able to do duct pressure
Which is a
testing,
bummer.
which is too bad, but maybe some will eventually.
Yeah, it's trainable, right? I mean, it's trainable. It's just who's willing.
Yeah. Well, I figured it out. It certainly made me nervous the first couple times. First one that I did was my in-laws system. My mother-in-law comes down. What the hell are you doing?
Making test ports.
Yep. I'm installing test ports, madam. Looks like you're drilling holes. No, you're incorrect. Those are test ports. Thank you, David Richardson of NCI. This is time to go get measurements on the system. So I'll show you that in just a minute here, measurements and all the other things. There's a couple of budget questions and so forth. We ask them, when you get a quote, do you like to see the most expensive options first or the less expensive options first? So you can let them see which way they prefer, and a few other things. This is not meant to be a full quote tool. Not yet, because so many people have a different one, but it will be a really nice visual tool to show that client. All right, that should ideally bump you back here. That's another thing that needs to get adjusted. Let's take a look at measurements. This is meant to be used on a tablet. I definitely think iPad, but I'm sure there's some Android people here that are like, hey, Android's the best. Whatever you want to use, it's a tablet is what we had in mind here. So this is going to also drop to only 3 sections. So we're going to have the indoor, outdoor, and electrical section. We're going to have the static pressure worksheet and equipment measurements, and then we're going to have equipment choices. That's all that's going to be in here. So these other ones are going to disappear shortly.
Well, also the indoor, outdoor, electrical, we're also going to have a mini split ductless option as well.
Thank you. Yes, because that is currently in the indoor here. So this is meant to be quick and easy, but still complete data entry. Big thanks to Ken on this, and also Jeff. But man, Ken, thank you for your help on all this. That was great. And so you can put in what they have now. Brands, model number, serial number, input and output if it's a furnace. You can check whatever it is. We did have this set, so there were rules on what you could do, and then we kept breaking it. So now you can select whatever you want. So please have a brain as you check these boxes. You're not going to have more than one. Like you're going to have a gas furnace and a cased or uncased coil. Is that, no? That should also show the coil stuff. Need to figure out what's going on there. But this pulls a lot of your key stuff here. In fact, there's generally some stuff disappeared in the update since I looked at this a couple days ago. So, all right, we're going to have to go back and put those back in. There's supposed to be a bunch of stuff here also about what the venting is, what the
Jeff's
gas
nodding
line
his
is,
head.
things like that. Yeah.
Gone.
Is it down further?
Yeah, no.
Nope. Oh, God.
Down. Yeah, there's supposed to be 3 or 4 more sections here. And then you get into the mini and multi-split, which will end up being a separate workflow.
3 updates go forward and 1 update goes backwards.
This is when I keep saying, yeah, like 2 weeks, this is the stuff that keeps driving us nuts. Like something gets pulled out by accident and we have to catch it. So in any case, there's a bunch more stuff that should be here that's not at the moment. And it was there last week. So we'll get that back in. And then outdoor unit is pretty simple. It's just your brand, model, size. Is it an air conditioner or a heat pump? If it happens to be a window unit for some reason that you're putting in here, you can do that. And then what's the output of the system? So that's super simple. And we are missing the refrigerant line measurements here too.
Yeah, that's one that they said in programming that they were having some issues with this in the measurement section.
Okay.
So we know they're
So
working
there we
on
go.
it.
Yep. So hopefully Saturday, all this stuff will be back along with the other little tweaks that we were working on. And electrical service, I'm happy to have this for either the electrification side or just in general. I think these were questions I always got when I was speccing out equipment. So what brand is the box? So they know what size breakers to buy, and what brand rather. Is it a fuse box or a breaker box? I haven't seen a fuse box in a long time, but in California, they have a bunch. What size main breaker is it? How many extra slots are there? What's the outdoor unit size for the breaker? Does it have a sub panel or not? And is the equipment in the sub panel, which would be weird, but it could happen. But this collects enough information that your install manager shouldn't have too hard of a time figuring out what to buy. And then this is where there's some pretty fun stuff. So the static pressure worksheet and equipment measurement. So you can select whatever you want. Let's do a furnace and coil. All right, somebody shout out which one to do.
Upflow.
Great. So here's an upflow system, and you can do either left or right orientation. And note for static pressure, it tells you where to drill the holes. And then you can put your numbers in, and then it will calculate your external static pressure.
Okay, fingers crossed.
Well, it is working right now because I made sure to put a negative here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's doing something weird there. Oh, it is still seeing the difference between them. But it's supposed to calculate the difference between these. This formula needs a little bit more work. I can't remember what the mathematical symbol for it is, but it's the 2 bars. It takes away whatever the plus or the minus is on it. So this is in here. And again, you can select any different kind of system you want. So let's do an airflow or an air handler that's upflow right. There you go. Or this. So it makes it look like the system so that your newbies actually know what they're doing. And then it lets you take the dimensions. Let's see how this has been one of our other challenges here recently. Yeah, it's not doing this right. It should be putting these dimensions right on the measurement of the system. You get to see the fun stuff of doing all this.
Click on dimensions again.
Here we go. Well, it's actually showing the drawing here.
Yep, and then you input down below. It doesn't pop on the picture right now.
Yep. So it will. So like the gap here, it should have a box here. This is challenging because we're designing it for a bunch of different screen sizes. Shoot, there's a word for it in web design. My mind's blanking. I don't know. Anyway, this is made to work on a phone, tablet, or a laptop, but we're optimizing for tablets.
If you type it in there, will it show up?
No, it's not going to.
No.
This is one of the things that's been a challenge. But if you have all of these dimensions in a system, you're going to have a much better idea of what size ductwork to order. And hopefully, again, this is where the install manager will be thankful, because they won't have to go out there and pull the measurements themselves.
Yeah, these numbers and pictures, they'll be happy.
Yep. You should be able to order stuff and be okay. And then equipment choices. Yay, the smiley faces are working again. You can understand why, like, yeah, it's a show it, but how all is it going to work? But you can either put the equipment choices on the free quote report or not. You can run cheap options first or expensive options first on the report, so that you can show people through these. And these are pulling from a template. In fact, you can see right here, like, let's run a heat pump template instead. Or like I did an IRA template. And I must have played with that should have a frowny smiley face. Package heat pumps, if you're looking at that sort of thing. And they kind of suck, because basically if you want an inverter, there's a Bosch. That's your only option. Or you can run hybrids. So this pulls this up, and then you can type in whatever you want. And that changes now. That's brand new. I asked for those to change. And then we need to be able to hide or show each one of these. But then this will let you put in whatever equipment you want to use. You can name what the systems are called, because you probably have different verbiage in your company. And you can change any of these to whatever you want. And the odds are, and you can make your own template as well, because most people only have a handful of systems that they normally sell. So you can set it up for that, because again, this is a free quote. So there you go. And when you're done with all of that, you can click this Generate Quote Measurements PDF, and it creates a PDF of all this data entry. Look, you can see here, like, this has venting on it, and filter type and gas line type and location. These are all the things that weren't showing when we were looking at it. What kind of chimney does it have?
What are you talking about?
Your screen's not showing it.
Oh, shoot. Oh, hang on.
They jumped to another page, yeah.
I did. My bad. Thank you for the reminder. Oop. I forget about that. I changed tabs. How come you guys didn't come with me? What's wrong with you people? See it now?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the form that the install manager would get. And now you can see there's the location. So you can check the box as to where it is. What kind of gas line does it have? What kind of filter does it have now? Is it a filter cabinet, filter grill, electronic, whatever? There's your size. And you can select more than one as well, and then put in what the other filter sizes are too. And here's your venting, whether it's metal or PVC. There's the mini and multi-split stuff, outdoor unit. And see, look, there's line set length, suction size, liquid size. So those just dropped out of there for some reason, but they should be there. And then on the bottom here, this just has the static pressure right now. We need to get dimension to also output. But this should be enough, along with photos, for the install manager to be able to order what they need and hopefully save a bunch of steps.
Well, plus, every time you send a person to the house, that's interrupting the homeowner. And so you really need to be conscious of how many times you want to send people to the house, particularly if it's not for any significant purpose.
Exactly. This is not the best way. Let's see if this button works. Nope.
Uh-oh, what was that going to show us?
Go back to free quote questionnaire. So that's another thing that's coming. So after you go look at the equipment and you fill this out,
Right.
then you're supposed to click here. You go back to the free quote questionnaire. You ask the client a couple of questions, and like, are you planning to make a decision today?
Or do
can
I
you
have
send this
time
later?
to complete this and send it to you?
Yep, exactly. But it doesn't take very long anyway.
No, but that's a testing. You're asking that question more to test, you know, do I need to give you a quote right now? Because do you want to buy right now? Is what that question is.
Yep.
Only it's a much softer way of asking it.
Yes. Yeah. All of this is, again, meant to be no coercion. So that's one way to do that. And then there's also the free quote report, which is right here. And I need to go change which thing I'm showing. The wonders of doing these live. So this has a few more iterations as well to do, but it's got some key things in it for now. So here's their answers to the 4 questions. So they're going to get this as a report, and it's printed out in hard that they can look at. And note that it has what their comments were for each of those 4 questions. And then it shows what the score is and what's recommended. Jeff, are you going to say something?
No, I was just going to, well, with that, I was just going to ask, to the group, why do you think that we have those comments along with those scores on the 4 questions on that report?
To remind them. And
To remind
remind
them?
you of the pain.
Yeah. And then also the big thing that I see is the warranty portion again. So I'll be the guy that talks about the warranty, right? Is when they call back after they do a like for like or whatever they decide to do. This actually allows you to pull that report back up and go, it's been a problem even with your old system. So it's not like this is a new issue or concern.
So one of the things that we're getting more and more feedback, mostly from Jeff from different experiences he's had, is that this concern of warranty calls after installs is being pretty broadly felt throughout the industry.
Yeah.
And so having a process that's going to help avoid taking big bites out of the warranty reserve budget is it's going to be hard to quantify at first, but I think once people start using these processes, they're going to be like, holy cow, our warranty reserve is falling from 4% to 1.25% or something like that. It's going to be big savings.
Yeah, I mean, particularly as we're moving to more complicated equipment, and in particular ECMs and X13s that don't deal with static pressure like PSCs did. This is going to drive everybody bonkers.
Well, and I'm seeing a lot of more complaints about humidity too. So, you're buying equipment that's going to do a worse job in removing humidity than the equipment you had before. So the house is going to feel different unless you're really careful. And it's going to feel different in a bad way.
Thank you, efficiency standards.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just get rid of the dehumidification. We don't need that. Just throw that out.
Boy,
oops.
Change of state from vapor to a liquid is just so expensive. Let's see if we can avoid doing that.
We'll just not do that. We'll make people sick. Sick building syndrome for the win.
So here's also, if you want to talk about likely load range, right? It's the beginning of it.
Yeah. So this is what's in there right now, where you can enter in what you think the bottom and top for a house might be. But what we found is so many people are just not used to doing loads at all that we wanted to automate it. And we came up with the idea of likely load range. Let's do some really basic back-end calculations. And since we're not doing an actual calculation, if you think of a bell curve, we're trying to get 2 standard deviations out, which covers 95% of systems out there. So you could, in theory, be above or below either of those numbers, but it's not going to be that many houses that are. And it helps describe to homeowners that, hey, we really don't know right now what the best size is for your house. Or like Reedy's example of, we got 3 loads at 2, 3, and 5 tons. What are you supposed to do with that? We aren't collecting all of the information we need to do an accurate load.
There are a lot of 2,000 square foot houses out there that have 120,000 BTU furnaces. And we're usually somewhere between 2 and 3 tons for heating.
Yeah.
On those
maybe
houses.
4. Yeah, maybe 4 for climate zone 5.
Well, for climate zone 5 or 6.
Yeah. But yeah, it's wild when you learn how to do loads that are actually accurate to how the performance of the house has been in the past. You're going to find you're going to sell a lot of heat pumps. That's what happened to us. Very seldom do we find a house with a 60,000 or higher load. It's got to be really big or really leaky.
When we sell hybrids, people are like, "Oh, Jeff, you even heard this recently from a previous owner, where the wife didn't like it when it switched over to gas." We've heard that too. We heard, "Oh, the house is more comfortable when it's running on the heat pump."
Yep.
That was Jim Birdman's wife.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jim Bergman's wife. That's right.
Thank you, Robin. Robin likes the heat pump. And they ran the numbers. It costs marginally more. It's like $20 a month more or something like that. And Jim's whining to me about it. I'm like, dude, you go out to lunch every day. You spend that every day.
Tell your wife she's not worth the $20.
I'm
Video record it too, so I can watch.
Yeah, that's actually, I'll send this to her. We'll mess with them. Anyway, I think too, Ted, that first new build that we did back in 16, it was 4,800 square feet. And
Yes.
Ed got that house down to a 1,500 blower door. It was a 1480, which blew our doors off at the time. Like we were like, you need to hit 3,000 for this to be the right equipment. And if you can get under 2, that's a stretch. And he hit a 1480. It was awesome. With totally standard construction, nothing exotic. But I watched that furnace, and we spec'd the 60, and he was terrified. So we're like, okay, fine, we'll do an 80. And
that was still 3-stage, so that ramped down to 40 or something.
Yeah, that was a modulating system, and then it had a 5-stage heat pump on top. So like it was still a nice system. But I watched in the longest cold snap that we've had, it was 2 weeks of design temperatures almost every day. Like my design temperature was 5. There were a couple of days that got to like 10, but there were a lot of days that we were around 0 for a good chunk of the time, which was scary. Like we've just done this was 2017 to 2018, and we'd done a whole bunch of heat pump systems right then. And I watched his system. I never saw it above 55% output, which is what, 45,000 BTUs, something like that, on a 4,800 square foot house in Cleveland. So that helps give you an idea of why we're just not that chicken about this if we know the right inputs.
Could have been a 3-ton heat pump with resistance staging in.
For a 5,000 square foot house in Cleveland. Yeah. With nothing. So that was R13. That was plain old sheathing. That's before he started doing zip R.
All kinds of fancy details that are impossible to air seal.
Oh yeah, man. Well, he did use a bunch of spray foam on that one. He used a whole set of spray foam, which was crazy. They go out there and I'm like, so how are you going to deal with this? He's like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Talk to your insulation guy. That's going to have to be closed cell. But there was some weird details like that. Where it's like, why did you frame it that way? This is so hard to work with. But the vast majority of that house was totally normal. R13 in the walls. It was R38 in the attic. Fiberglass. This converted Ted and I to like, oh, geez, yeah, actually, if you put the fiberglass
works if it's in a sealed box.
Yeah, it works. It did its job. Because generally we aren't pro fiberglass because it's usually in a leaky cavity. So anyway, this is going to help open that conversation with clients. And this is where we say, just do like for like, unless they specify something else, but they get to choose, not you. That's the idea here. And if they don't opt for static pressure or duct pressure testing, and they keep the same size equipment. Now, keep in mind that when you go from a PSC to an ECM, you're typically going to see a 30% increase in duct pressure. Thank you, Jeff, who measured that numerous times. And so you're just trying to give them the reasonable fear, uncertainty, and doubt. This is real stuff that they're taking on risk for. And so if you give this to them, you have just transferred a huge chunk of that responsibility.
And since you've done a good job of educating them as to what these decisions mean, and that's really a big part of our philosophy, is you can't ask a homeowner to take responsibility for something that they don't understand.
Exactly.
So your responsibility is to educate the homeowner so that they can take responsibility for their decision.
Yep. And it's your responsibility in particular to do it in a way that you are satisfied that you did it well enough, and preferably that you documented multiple times that you offered them that education and they still made the bad choice. Well, that's your dumb decision. Jeff, do you want to tell the story of that warranty call, by the way? It was the one where they were offered the free quote in the comfort consult. They took the free quote and then they had high static.
Yeah. Just real quick on that was, we asked the comfort quiz. We gave them the option. They chose to do the free quote, as you mentioned. And then from there, they, did a like for like replacement. It's zoned. So afterwards, multiple service visits, I get involved, get out there and, say, hey, let's do the easiest thing, or we can go about this a couple different ways. We can do the comfort consult now, or we can try to match your ductwork to the equipment size and just guess and hope that it works with no guarantee of comfort or anything. And the homeowner chose the quick path, which was just let's undo the zoning, at least so the system didn't overheat. So
solved the problem, didn't it?
Well, it solved the system from overheating, but the comfort that they had between the two levels was still there.
Still oversized, shutting off.
Yeah, but again, as you said at the beginning, not my money, not my problem.
Yeah, not my circuit.
And did the company have to pay any warranty costs?
No, the homeowner actually paid, the client actually paid to undo the zoning.
There you go. And normally that would have bit you, right?
Yeah. Typically, if we didn't have that documentation prior, we probably would have gone in there, done that testing. We would have done a warranty comfort consult, basically, and ripped out the system and replaced it with a proper size, probably did some duct mods and zoning, all for free, which would have eaten that warranty reserve. Yeah,
that would be a $30,000 or $40,000 project, probably.
Ran into my fair share of those, yes.
There you go. So would you like a $30,000 or $40,000 retail warranty job, or you charge them a couple $100 to disconnect zoning?
So also, when you're talking about this duct pressure illustration here, Jeff, do you want to talk a little bit about one of the tools that you use for duct pressure and why you don't recommend it?
There's a couple tools I use, but the one in particular you're talking about is one that we were all initially excited for, I will say, right? Mm-hmm. So just speaking the truth that, hey, we thought this could be an add-on that we could have in the sales world where we could help. Well, in fact, it actually, as Tanner knows, and made some beautiful charts for as well, it actually says the high duct pressure is okay. It's in an acceptable range, but I mean, especially on a PSC motor, if you check that and it says it's in an acceptable range, then what kind of liability do you have when you go to replace it with an EC motor? Or
what is the acceptable range, by the way, Jeff?
Oh, it runs all the way up to 1. Caution up to 1.0, which 1.0 and above isn't on many manufacturer charts for a reason, because it's imminent failure. So I'm not going to get anywhere close to that and say that that's okay. because all it takes is a filter not being changed for an extended period of time or not being maintained, and that duct pressure goes up higher, or a setting's been changed or whatever it may be. And now you're again eating warranty costs.
So this illustration shows that 0.8 to 0.3.
0.08.
And that one says
0.08, yeah.
0.08 to 0.3. And that one shows what is
0.7 to 1 is in the yellow range.
0.7 to 1 is in the yellow, and here we have it in the orange. Or red.
Well,
we have it in the red.
Starts getting the red because at that point you're usually going to experience higher energy consumption, noise complaints.
And 5 to 7 for them is what?
Green.
Is in the green.
Anything less
we
than
don't
green
even have 3 to 5 in the green.
Yeah. But we will be adjusting this, by the way, Ted, so that the green will extend to 0.5.
Okay.
But this is our thinking. If you aren't getting your system below 0.3, you're not doing it right. Very seldom have we had a system over 0.3. I mean, it might get 0.35 or something like that, but it's amazing how often they are below this. Tanner, you designed the game house. That one is 0.13. That's full flow. I mean, it's only a 1.5 ton system, but it's doable. And we've done plenty of retrofits when you downsize a size or two. So you only need 800 CFM or 1,000 CFM instead of 1,500, 2,000. It's amazing what happens.
Well, so the other thing we're hoping to do is to get people using continuous fan and for continuous fresh air and continuous filtration, because we're seeing a lot better indoor air quality if you do this. And so if you're going to be using these fan motors continuously, you want them running cool and you want them running with very little energy use. Will you talk a little bit about that, Nate?
Sure. I mean, for 300 CFM, with all the systems we put in, they've come in between 15 and 45 watts, which is like $2 to, I don't know, maybe $10 if you got really expensive electricity per month of usage.
For $2 a month, you can have continuous filtration and continuous fresh air if you have a scuttle.
Yeah. And you mix the house, you stir it like a vinaigrette.
You're mixing it, you're just making it even in temperature, even in humidity. I mean, this is how we have got a whole lot of very happy clients in our rear view.
Yep. But you want to land for this below 0.3 if you can. Now, if you're doing a like for like, you're unlikely to get there. You're going to have to downsize, and that's probably going to require a comfort consult. But you can at least help set expectations. But that's why we're going to extend this green up to 0.5, because on free quotes, you're going to end up with a bunch in the 0.3 to 0.5 range. You just are.
And it's
even
more
if you
of
get a point. Go ahead, Tanner.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're good.
I was just going to say that the extending it out, it's really a differentiator of good versus great. I mean, if you get under 0.5, like that's good, but it's that around 0.3 and below, that's when you can really get those added details of you can't hear the system when it's running. That's how you can get that really good filter face velocity, so you can get good filtration, and you can get all these additional benefits, none of which you're ever going to get at 0.7 and above. It don't matter what manufacturer of tools. It don't matter who's going on Facebook groups and talking and saying, oh, actually the manufacturer on the fan charts, it says this. I don't care. Until you actually go out and you see this and really think about it, like the idea of trying to portray that that's okay is ridiculous. And so that's why all of us, we all target for extremely low duct pressures. Now, it's also a little different if you have situations where you've got really crappy duct work, it's in an attic, and you don't want that slow velocity. Sure. But you're dealing with crap at that point. So it don't even bumping it up and making it for the best case for that scenario, you're still bad. It's not good. And so we're here trying to have something to illustrate to go, okay, this is, if we get within the actual good ranges or great ranges, this is where we're trying to target.
Yeah, and like you said, on top of that, Tanner, have you measured it? Have you actually checked the system and saw that it was pulling 9 to 12 amps on an EC motor? change a return drop or the sizing of the equipment to the proper size and see that it goes down to 2 amps, but you're promising on a like for like without actually offering, measuring, or knowing that this new EC motor from a PSC is going to save you money.
Well,
Look
that's
on
the
the
other
callbacks
thing, right?
or the warranties with, hey, I have higher energy bills, even though you said I was going to save $500 a year or a month or whatever the hell they tell them.
College payments.
Yeah, right.
Kids going to
Send my
college
kids
on
to
those
school.
savings.
I thought this was going to pay my college tuition. All
Nothing's
this energy savings. You've been talking tonight, Serta.
Nothing's better than promising energy savings just to completely eat up all those savings just in your fan motor because the duct pressure's so out of range.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And in the end here, this isn't on yet. This is the smiley faces. But hopefully this makes sense. Like, so you show them what their answers are to the 4 questions of the comfort quiz, what their likely load range is, what the duct pressure is, and whether they signed off on testing or not. So in this case, it was accepted, but if they decline it, there's just going to be a question mark on this. Who knows? Like, and we can put a note in here. You're taking the risk as the client here. And then the smiley faces.
Well, and as the person giving the specification, you're the guy writing the check. You ultimately get to build and determine what the specification is. And I'm the guy just bidding to that specification because this is a free quote.
Exactly.
And you have to show them that. Like, they have to actually understand what this is. I mean, it's kind of difficult to take a moral stance of trying to make claims while at the same time try to make something that is bad portray as good. I mean, nothing's going to make the client happier than saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to work great. You're making the best like you're picking the best choice." No, you don't need any of that other stuff. Why waste the money? Let's just save that money, put it into this. And sure, it's 0.1, and you hear it when it kicks on, and you can't sleep. But put earplugs in. Who cares?
Stop whining. That's about it. All right. There's been a bunch of comments in here, and because I was on a different screen, I couldn't see any of them. There we are. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks for coming, Tom.
Yeah, appreciate it. HVAC blogger, thank you for coming. And heating cooling services, I'd love to see this process and measure quick commissioning after the install. That is really a key thing. You can show that it's done well. So I haven't dug into the ACA 310 that just came out, but that looks pretty interesting where you actually show that it's there. Because yeah, if you actually want to reduce consumption, you can jam in a high SEER piece of equipment and have it run an inch of static, and you ain't saving squat.
So ACA 310, I've looked a little bit at it, Nate, right?
Okay.
It's saying that you're going to do all this testing, you're going to do all this design up front, and then you're going to go through proper install practices to proper commissioning. But it doesn't state anything about that it should just be free or that you should charge for it. So it doesn't differentiate that. Again, it's just a practice that we would love to do, but who's doing all that legwork for free? Which leads us back to this. You got to offer.
Yep. You offer it. And also, if you're offering better equipment, and then, the comfort consult, which gets you to better sizing and all of that stuff, that's where the good installs are really going to come out of. But even here, I mean, if you at least put a bat on a big air drop, like you were saying, Jeff, you can oftentimes get, a third out of static, maybe 50% out of static if you let the thing breathe as it stands.
Yeah, we call that the set. Right? As long as the set is designed as well as possible.
Okay.
But again, offered to the client. And then if they choose to do it, great. Then, that set is your responsibility to get it as good as you can.
That's exactly.
And then that's where you can get a little bit of that reduction. But that's the return drop, as you talked about, the bad.
Yep.
Right? Proper filtration, proper supply transitions, things like that.
Better supply plenum. Yeah. All that good stuff that can help. Let's see here. And thank you. Yeah, it's a work in progress. You put that in at 9:00 when I was probably showing something that isn't working right now. That's why I haven't shown it until now, because there's been all of these freaking bugs. And then here there were a couple I hadn't even found. We just found them tonight live. Oops. There's an update on Saturday. I hadn't combed through it all yet. What's this? Pumper package unit. Oh yeah, here you go. Yeah. Well, heat pump getting below 0.5, not that hard. Pretty much all the systems we've done are heat pumps. They're at least a hybrid. And is this accessible in public? Yes. You can sign up now if you want. Fair warning, it's still buggy for a short while longer. But it's an app. Like there's an app for that, .hvac20.com. You can go sign up for an account, and they are free for 3 months. In fact, let's look at pricing while we're on that subject. This is pretty cheap for the moment. So the basic account is free for 90 days and then $6 a month. You can put as much data in as you want for free. And I'm getting feedback. Is that me or one of you all? Turn my volume down. So the data entry is free. You have to pay by the report. They're $10 for the free quote reports, and that gets you both the client-facing one and then also the install manager one. $25 for comfort consult reports, but keep in mind you only get access for 90 days. So you want to save that if nothing else, and you don't get advanced support. Subscriber, there's a $500 a month setup charge, then $200 a month, and then everything's unlimited, and you get access to the higher end support group. And then through all of this, remote and on-site help and training are available. So again, that is, I should have put it on here. I'm dumb for not doing it. app.hvac20.com.
We anticipate people to sign up for the free account. And it doesn't require a credit card or anything. What happens is after 3 months, if you try to get into the account, it's over. You have to pay the $6. And that's when you put your credit card in.
Exactly. Yeah. You get to use it truly free for 3 months. So you can try it out.
And then you don't get to use a report unless you pay for the report. So you'll get to use the software for free all the way to the report, and then it's $10 for each report that you decide you want to print.
Yep, per client. Yeah,
per client. So how about these questions from Barbie?
Let's see, all electric. Yeah, if you're still here, Barbie, it is that would really require the comfort consults to do that accurately. I mean, if you want to guess at sizing, I mean, that is one wild thing about California. I would bet that a 3-ton heat pump will cover 90% of homes in California. Maybe that's 80%. Fine, whatever.
Free consulting.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, so the interesting thing is, what we're finding out is these guys are using the free quote process. And if they go to like a 2,000 square foot house and they've done a good job going through the free quote, the homeowner's at a position of, well, so if 3 tons is the right size for this house, assuming the house isn't a basket case, I'm willing to take the risk that the house isn't a basket case. And what is that risk? What, I should have put in a 4-ton? That would be the wrong size. Or I'm going to have to do weatherization to reduce the load of the house because the house is messed up. It's like it's a very little risk situation. And we're starting to see that consumers are able to grasp that and that they're willing to take that risk. It's not a thing that we ever anticipated. We always thought that consumer probably was best served and most likely to get a comfort consult, but now we're rethinking that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We think a surprising number of the clients are probably going to end up free quote, and it'll be fine.
And very happy with it, because that smiley face thing really is going to help them make good decisions. They're going to be like, oh, you mean this thing has 5 different levels of output and can run pretty near continuous when the house is seeing a load? And that's going to make me comfortable. You know, they're provided with the information that they need to understand how the equipment interacts with their house and how better equipment interacts better with their house for the first time. This has never been provided before.
Yeah. And then last question here also from Barbie. She's probably gone at this point. Will it include ducted mini multi-splits? Yeah, we touched on that. Yeah, it definitely will. It has it in there now. The workflow will shift just a little bit.
So any other questions, folks? What is the time?
We have run way over. It's 9:35. We're
sorry.
an hour and 20 in. You've
All
been
right.
having too much fun, Ted.
I'm sorry. I'll shut up more.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, you better be quiet.
Isn't he supposed to be the one keeping us on track? What's going on here? Come on, drill sergeant.
Tanner making his bookshelf much more lib friendly.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm all about.
Oh, I see. All right.
You know what today is.
Right.
There you go.
That's funny.
All right. So next week, we're going to be talking about how many people will actually pay for a quote. These numbers kind of surprised me. So these come from, I put together almost 2.5 years ago now, the Electrify Everything course that talks about like the actual key things you really need to be able to figure out if you're going to electrify a house. Because again, we got into electrification, not really for electrification's sake per se, but when we started doing loads, we're like, this house doesn't need a furnace. And that kept happening. So
and then we learned that you could do reheat dehumidification if you didn't include a furnace. So suddenly we're like, oh, we don't want to sell furnaces anymore because we want people to have reheat.
Exactly, which we covered in, that was episodes 2 through 6, going through the fresh air side, and that episode 6 was reheat. So anyway, we have 469 responses to the 4 questions from the 2,000 or so people that have been through that. And we're going to go over their responses, and there's some little things that they said below this as well. So next week we'll go through that, and the week after that we will go through the videos from the comfort quiz and the 6 functions and all of that. So, and with that, thank you all for coming. Appreciate the 4 of you that are hanging on at the end here, and I hope you learned something and you enjoyed the time. Anybody else have closing thoughts? Good to go. All right, on to the after show for us.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
We'll see you next week.